firmware 3.5 and lower DSP usage on cabs, the time has come for me to try and tweak a full rig with Poly Capo on the HX Stomp. Poly Capo on HX Stomp pre 3.5 was unusable except in a studio context or if your live sound being bone dry was part of your vibe. And for Sunday players, this is even worse with the need for a decent wet section with delay and reverb. So with 3.5, my hope is that I can at least dial in a fully functional tone that's performance ready, which means it must have a variety of both dry and wet effects. To that end, I'm aiming to fill up the signal chain with one overdrive block, one mono delay block, and one stereo reverb block. Let's build a patch backwards. Usually I start with the amp and cap, but since we want full functionality, I don't want to load up an amp and cap block, only to realize I can't load up an overdrive, a delay, and a reverb block. First, the Poly Capo, which is a DSP guzzler at 50% chip load. Then I'll load up a mono symbol delay and stereo glitz reverb because I want that to be the backbone of my ambience. These are DSP-lite and it's intentional that way because I want a little more flexibility with the overdrives. Now, since I want to down tune and play something heavier, a mid push is what's going to help with articulation. I'll go with the Screamer, which is a staple pairing with a heavier amp. And you can see that with this signal chain, I only have a handful of amp choices left. So let's go with the Badonk, which is a modified Marshall. I know that will pair with the Screamer well. The idea is that I want a clean-ish rhythm sound without the Screamer, then a hefty lead sound with it on. I'm going to turn down the gain and tweak the EQ and change that mic setup to a SM57 for more bite. A few notes about the Poly Capo. Jason Sadites did a full expose on how each of these parameters work, and I'll link it in the description box below. For our purposes today, we're interested in the tracking and auto EQ. X stable or extra stable is the default setting on tracking. You shouldn't be touching this unless you have a terrible experience with lag and playing extra fast lead lines. Computationally at this setting, HX Stomp is using more power to keep the tracking stable but with more lag. And as you drag this control the other way, you have less lag but with more digital artifacts. In my experience, it's best to keep it at X stable and learn to live with a little lag. With auto EQ, what's happening is that when you shift the pitch progressively down, the EQ or the shifted signal becomes progressively duller. This is why the default setting is at 7 with a drop interval of -2 semitones. As you go lower, you might find it beneficial to turn up the setting to keep the tone from getting muddy. For a full 7-string setting, and with this guitar, I'll turn up the auto EQ to 8. Conversely, you might have to turn this setting down when you're cranking up the semitones for those higher pitched sounds. It's all relative though, as what's overly bright for my ears might be okay for yours. The key is to experiment and see what works for you. Before we go any further, are you finding value in this content? If so, please consider giving a thumbs up. It lets me know that this is relevant for you and will get YouTube to push this out to more folks. If you're a fellow musician on a similar road of musical discipleship, consider subscribing. And now to put it all together in a control scheme. HX Stomp is incredibly easy since it only has 3 buttons, and I'll keep FS3 for tap tuner. I'll assign the screamer to FS1 and a stronger .8 delay to FS2. Here's a trick to keep those levels consistent between clean and rhythm. There's just enough DSP to load up a gain block. Since most of the signal chain is in mono, you can place this after the MCAP block and leave it on when the screamer is off for a clean sound. Now assign this to the same switch as the screamer so that when you turn the screamer on, the 2 dB boost is off. On the final patch, I might tweak the amp settings together with toggling the screamer and gain blocks, but for now, this is pretty useful already. And voila, a fully functional patch with Poly Capo, choices for clean, .8 delay, and crunch. I hope you found this informative and useful. If you want to check out my other tonal recreation series where I figure out how to tweak the helix to sound like Hillsong and Bethel, please head on over to the playlist right here and check out more videos. I'll see you there. Until next time, I'm Justin, and I'm all about worship guitar.